Leave it to Donald Trump to be in favor of war crimes and genocide in Darfur and throughout Africa. How else can you interpret the fact that one of the lead prosecutors, who's an American Army veteran who works for the International Criminal Court, had to go file a federal lawsuit in order to do his job prosecuting war crimes and genocide at the International Criminal Court? Because Donald Trump doesn't want any American, apparently, to work for the International Criminal Court, having put its chief prosecutor on a watch list, a dark list, a block list, trying to take his assets from him and trying to block and punish anybody that does work with the chief prosecutor. And that includes Eric Iverson, one of the unsung heroes of the International Criminal Court, sort of like Jack Smith, who used to go out after war criminals in Kosovo. This guy does the same thing, but in Darfur. But he got swept up in this overbroad executive order of Donald Trump's attacking the International Criminal Court because it went after, Netanyahu and some Israelis. Look, I'm not in favor necessarily of the United States falling under the jurisdiction of the International Criminal Court, but I am in favor of all the work it does in preventing genocide and war crimes and crimes against humanity outside of the United States. And so I think that has always been the bargain or the relationship between the United States and the International Criminal Court. But not to Donald Trump. This is the second time he's put them on a blacklist. But now finally somebody is standing up for the rule of law and standing up against genocide and crimes against humanity. I mean, Donald Trump's administration is starting to become a crime against humanity, but I'm here to talk about it on Legal AF. Look, you're here already. Take a moment, hit the subscribe button, come on over to Legal AF, the Substack, where we post complaints and legal filings, and I do an analysis called Morning AF every day with all of our other contributors on Legal AF. You can only find it on the Legal AF Substack. Let's talk about the new case by Eric Iverson filed in the District of Columbia. He had no choice. If you're an American working in The Hague in the Netherlands for the International Criminal Court, and if you're a lawyer and a prosecutor, this is your life's work. This is your dream. This is your dream job. You don't make a lot of money. You got to live in The Hague. But, you're doing some amazing work. Who can't? When did crimes against humanity become a red or blue thing? Why isn't that a red, white, and blue thing? Look, the ICC, the International Criminal Court, has been around since the 1990s through the Rome Accord, and even though the United States didn't ratify it because we didn't want to subject ourselves to that jurisdiction, it doesn't mean we haven't supported it. And every administration, except for Trump's, has supported the work of this prosecution team in Darfur, going after war criminals, war crimes, war gangs, and crimes against humanity, except Donald Trump. Because when he issued his executive order against the International Criminal Court, imposing sanctions on the International Criminal Court, right? He said it was mainly because they were going after Netanyahu and the former Minister of Defense, Gallant, for Israel. Donald, it's one thing to say the ICC has no jurisdiction over the United States or Israel. That's fine, I guess. But then to say that they're going to undermine any attempt by the ICC to investigate, arrest, detain, or prosecute any kind of protected person, which is listed in Section 8D of the order, and then put the chief prosecutor on an asset block list, that's just a bridge too far. So this is how they define the term protected person. Means any United States person, unless the United States provides formal consent to the ICC jurisdiction over it, any current or former member of the armed services, any former elected or current elected official of the U.S., any person, a foreign person that is a citizen or lawful resident or ally of the United States not defined, any current or former member of the armed forces of an ally of the United States, a current or former elected or appointed government official of such ally. It's not listed. I mean, the allies that are listed are any NATO member, a major non-NATO ally, immediate family member, aliens, and foreign persons. I mean, it's so overbroad. You barely can enforce it. And that's what the new lawsuit by Eric Iverson is saying. He's saying, look, it's one thing to go after my boss, Karim Khan, the prosecutor of the ICC. It's another thing to put me out of business and put me on a Treasury block list and take away my assets and my livelihood. That's a First Amendment violation. And that's what his lawsuit says. Basically, he's saying, and let me read to you from the violation of the First Amendment argument. It says the executive order on paragraph 65 prohibits Mr. Iverson and others like him from engaging in speech and advocacy that defendants determine constitutes the provision of services to Karim Khan, the prosecutor for the ICC. That Mr. Iverson wishes to continue pursuing his investigational and prosecutorial mandates in Darfur at the direction of the ICC, but has been chilled from doing so because of the substantial risk that he'll be penalized for providing these services for the benefit of Prosecutor Khan. And therefore, it violates his First Amendment right in 3 ways. It's overbroad by prohibiting First Amendment freedom of the speech activities that have no relationship to the need to shield protected persons from investigation. In other words, you want to protect Israel? Fine, but why am I being stopped from doing stuff in Darfur? The executive order is a content-based restriction on speech that discriminates based on viewpoint, which he needs to have freedom of as a prosecutor. And it's also core First Amendment protected activity because it's his law practice. So what's going to happen here? First of all, I love the fact that new organizations have popped up to defend and to bring cases like this. This is what we need at this critical moment. As law firms bend the knee, we need new law firms to pop up. I mean, Abby Lowell formed a new law firm, Left Winston and Strawn, in the last week or so, just to represent people in front of the Trump administration who have been vindictively prosecuted or investigated by them. Abby Lowell, you're going to be very busy over the next 3.5 years, just like we are here on Legal AF. This group is Human Rights First, an organization based in New York and led by Joshua Colangelo Bryan and also by the law offices of Allison Ferber Miller. They brought this case on his behalf. I think it's very important that we recognize these public interest groups, not just the American Civil Liberties Union, but first and foremost, the American Civil Liberties Union, not just the attorneys general, but first and foremost, the attorneys general, but other groups like Democracy Forward and now Human Rights First. Welcome, welcome. We need your legal prowess and your expertise as superheroes here to fight against the Trump administration. Now, we'll see what's going to happen with the judge. If I'm the judge, I would carve this guy out. I would say it doesn't apply to him. I would allow him to continue as a war crimes prosecutor in The Hague against Darfur. He's not ultimately challenging at core the ability of the president to stop people from doing business with the ICC. But he's just saying, I work at the ICC and I'm an American. I have my own First Amendment right. I think that wins. I think that wins up to the Court of Appeals for the DC Circuit. And then we'll have to see what the United States Supreme Court does because, all of these cases end up ultimately at the United States Supreme Court at the rate that we're going. You're here. You want to know all about things like up at the United States Supreme Court. You want to know and you want to read for yourself some of these filings. Go to the Legal AF Substack. We've already added 3,000 subscribers just in the last week. That's all because of you. I'm doing my part curating it. Check out the Morning AF every day, sort of my cup of joe with you about what I've seen and what I think I'm going to see in the week that's coming up at the intersection of law and politics. And then, of course, you're here on Legal AF, the YouTube channel. Hit the subscribe button as we approach our 700,000th subscriber. All because of you. So until my next report, I'm Michael Popok. In collaboration with the Midas Touch Network, we just launched the Legal AF YouTube channel. Help us build this pro-democracy channel where I'll be curating the top stories at the intersection of law and politics. Go to YouTube now and free subscribe at Legal AF MTN. That's at Legal AF MTN.